Chapter 546 Destruction of Heavenly Soul City. The Sun Moon Empire might be the best in terms of soul tools, but they had their own problems too. In terms of soul masters, there was a large difference between them and the three empires of the original Dulur continent. If not for the fact that they had recruited a batch of soul masters from the Heavenly Soul Empire, they would probably not have been able to form these four new armies. Furthermore, many of those three ring soul masters had relied on medication to reach their cultivations. It wasn't stable. However, whether their abilities were stable or not wasn't important. The most important thing was whether they could use soul tools. Because of this, the Sun Moon Empire had used all its resources to manufacture soul tools, and hoped to quickly equip its new soul engineer legions. With these legions and their soul formations, they would be strong everywhere. Shu Tianran nodded. He knew it very well in his heart, and quickly said, "Quickly equip the first two armies with the newly manufactured soul tools. They must be prepared to obey any orders." "Yes, Your Majesty." The military chief acknowledged his words. Shu Tianran turned to his chief minister and said, "Chief minister, please continue." The chief minister said, "We have to quickly tap into our strengths if we want to find those guys. I suggest we deploy the preparatory troops to the north to conduct a carpet search. At the same time, we'll activate the farmers to search the wilderness. Whoever can provide satisfactory information will be greatly rewarded. We can first determine where they are before taking them out in one fell swoop. Your Majesty, I suggest that you quickly give orders to send rations to the north. Eastern Sun City and Oak City have been looted, causing rations in the north to be sorely lacking. We need to supplement them quickly, otherwise, there'll be chaos among the people." Shu Tianran nodded and said, "All right, we'll follow the chief minister's suggestions. Report." Outside the palace, an anxious shout could be heard. All the officials broke out into a cold sweat as they watched the reporting soldier. If he had come earlier, when Shu Tianran was still furious, his life would have been in danger. That soldier didn't wait outside, but charged into the palace holding a token instead. The guards outside the palace quickly gave way when they saw his token. They didn't stop him at all. All the officials were also astonished when they saw the token in this trooper's hand. A flying blazon. This so-called flying blazon was an information transmission method invented by the Sun Moon Empire. Whoever carried this flying blazon was at least a 6-ring soul engineer. He would be equipped with a powerful flying type soul tool. Under urgent conditions, he would be allowed to use this flying blazon. It was the fastest way of transmitting information. Shu Tianran set a rule. As long as the messenger had a flying blazon, it had to be presented in front of him no matter when it arrived. This was even if he was sleeping in the middle of the night. Every flying blazon soul engineer had such a token. In the Sun Moon Empire, he would be given any help he needed no matter which county he passed through. The soul engineer quickly entered the palace and kneeled down on one knee in the middle of the hall. "Your Majesty, a flying blazon from the front lines. Report." Shu Tianran became a little tense. At such a time, only Juzi had the right to use such an information transmission method. This also meant that this flying blazon had come from her. Under what circumstances would such a transmission method be used instead of long-distance transmission through aerial surveillance soul tools? The bad news from the north had already dampened Shu Tianran's mood. He was really afraid of further bad news. A box that was formed using a confidential soul tool was brought in front of Shu Tianran. There was a secret marking on the box, an arrangement between Juzi and Shu Tianran. Only he knew how to open this box. After pressing the box a few times and entering a series of words, the box clicked and opened, revealing a neatly folded piece of paper. At this point, all the officials were quiet. They were really afraid of bad news coming from the front lines. Shu Tianran opened the piece of paper. It only had 2 lines of writing on it. He glanced at it before he stood up suddenly. As it affected his prosthetic leg, his body even shook a little before he managed to stabilize himself as he shut up from his throne. All the officials shuddered at the same time when he stood up. What was going on? Shu Tianran stood where he was with an indescribable, complex look on his face. After a full minute, he slowly put the piece of paper down. Then, his gaze swept across his officials. Even the chief minister knew that something big had happened. He slowly stood up from his seat too. Shu Tianran said, "The War God Emperor sends news that our army fought the Heavenly Soul and Doling empires during the wee hours of the morning, defeating them. The imperial family of the Heavenly Soul Empire has been wiped out, and all surviving members of the regime have been removed. The remaining troops of the Doling Empire have all fled under the protection of Shrek Academy. In 3 days, our army will occupy the entire Heavenly Soul Empire apart from Shrek City." Inside the palace, it was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. The chief minister's beard shook, and he immediately fell to his knees. He exclaimed, "The heavens have blessed the Sun Moon Empire. The heavens have blessed the Sun Moon Empire. Long live His Majesty." All the officials only reacted now, and they all fell to their knees. Shu Tianran laughed. His laughter was filled with coldness and excitement. The paper in his hand had already been crushed. The Heavenly Soul Empire, one of the empires with the longest history in the Dulur continent, has been wiped out by me. The territories of the Sun Moon Empire have expanded once again. In the near future, the entire Dulur continent will be under me. When that happens, I'll rename the entire continent the Sun Moon continent. Tang Wutong sat quietly beside Huo Yuao and only watched him silently. Both of them had been here in this underwater world for some time, but she didn't know how many days had passed. After that mermaid completed her spirit fusion, Huo Yuao went into deep meditation and released strong spiritual undulations from his entire body. Li Ya, the mermaid, was the first pure spiritual type spirit that Huo Yuao had fused with. She had even been a 100,000-year soul beast. Her spiritual origin and soul energy was strong, far beyond Huo Yuao's expectations. Although her soul was critically hurt, her fusion with Huo Yuao still managed to upgrade his spiritual sea significantly. In his deep meditation, Huo Yuao's spiritual sea was seething. His solid spiritual sea also started to revolve like a whirlpool. His soul core became more stable, and its internal revolutions actually slowed down by more than 10 times compared to before. However, the compressed soul power in it also became 10 times more viscous too. The tier of his spiritual strength was increasing, enabling him to be completely immersed in his deep meditation. He even obtained the different types of secret tricks that merfolks use to control spiritual power from Li Ya. It was a very magical feeling for Huo Yuao. To him, this was extremely important. I believe eldest senior and the others must be very anxious now. Tang Wutong silently thought to herself. However, she liked this feeling for some reason. She was just silently protecting Huo Yuao and watching him cultivate. It was a very nice and peaceful feeling. In this deep underwater world, no one would come to disturb them. Regarding spirits, Tang Wutong had already had a detailed chat with the Princess of the Sea about them. Since Huo Yuao was cultivating, she replaced him in completing the mission. With her earlier sea god's descent, and how Huo Yuao had offered Li Ya an alternative way of living, everything was very successful. The Princess of the Sea agreed to coordinate with humans when it came to spirit fusion in the future. However, this was only an outlook. After all, the ice sea could only be entered from the ice sea, whereas the ice plains of the extreme north were in the Dulur continent. When Yuao wakes up from his cultivation, he should be thrown into the war again. I wonder what the situation is like outside. The Sun Moon Empire should know what we're doing over here by now. I wonder if they'll pull their troops back. Perhaps not. After all, we've not done enough yet. We haven't made contact with the spectral demiplane. Elder Senior and the rest must certainly be anxious. However, the warehouses are full of food. It can support 3 soul engineer legions for a long time. As for water, Yuan specially constructed a reservoir when they initially entered the demiplane. At the same time, he used necromancy to cleanse it. Bei Bei is personally in charge of watching it. He should be able to maintain at least 3 months of clean water. Just as Tang Wutong was deep in her thoughts, she suddenly furrowed her brow and subconsciously turned to Huo Yuao. The immense spiritual undulations coming from his body suddenly retracted, and his entire body shuddered. He's about to wake up. Tang Wutong was delightfully surprised as she looked at him. At this moment, Huo Yuao's body started to shine extremely brightly. The bright light even caused Tang Wutong to shut her eyes temporarily and turn around. The entire underwater world turned extremely bright. Strong spiritual undulations were released, and a golden figure separated from Huo Yuao's body. This figure was around 2 meters tall, and she was ravishing. The paleness and weakness from before had completely vanished. She had sky blue eyes and hair, which flowed behind her back. There was a golden crown on her head. When she appeared, it seemed as if captivating music was playing in the sea. Yes, it was Li Ya. When the Princess of the Sea and Li Jing sensed this, they immediately rushed over. When the 3 of them reunited once again, they all hugged and cried. Huo Yuao also finally opened his eyes now. The color of his eyes hadn't changed, and he no longer exuded bright light anymore. However, Tang Wutong sensed something indescribable when she saw his eyes again. Something in his eyes had changed. It was as if they could cut through heaven and earth. The surrounding seawater separated on its own, and allowed Tang Wutong to finally have a feel of the ground. Huo Yuao drifted up and came in front of her, giving her an embrace. "My love, sorry to have worried you." Tang Wutong was a little astonished as she looked at him and asked, "You can control seawater too?" Huo Yuao smiled and answered, "Of course not, but Li Ya can." She's now my spirit. I can control some of her abilities. Take a look. As he spoke, Hua Yuao lifted his right arm. There was a thin layer of golden scales on it. Clearly, it was the same type of scales as Ron Li Yao's tail. All this while, Hua Yuao had already possessed the rest of the soul bones he needed. He even had the dark golden terraclaws. He only lacked the right arm bone. Li had possessed the last soul bone he needed. After the fusion was completed, he finally had a soul bone for every part of his body. This was the best a soul master could achieve. As Hua Yuao had not yet become a titled duello, Tang Wutong felt that her abilities were a little better than his. However, even she couldn't see through him after this fusion. Even though she was the most familiar with him, she couldn't tell exactly how strong he was. Hua Yuao pulled Tang Wutong and only proceeded forward after the three mermaids had separated from one another. Then, he bowed to the princess of the sea. Li Yao's eyes were red. Although she wasn't nourished by the manifold mysterious ice essence like Hua Yuao's other spirits, it was important to note that Hua Yuao had managed to successfully form a spiritual soul core. After Li fused with him, he benefited greatly. However, his pure and immense spiritual power didn't just nourish her soul, it also enhanced it. It was crucial not to forget that there was a streak of divine sense in Hua Yuao's soul. Although it was only just a little, it was still very helpful for a spiritual type soul beast. Li nodded gently at Hua Yuao and she became slightly embarrassed. Thanks, Yuao. You gave me a new life. You cleansed my hatred. You are my benefactor. I'll follow you forever. After listening to her words, Tang Wutong felt that it was a little awkward. Fortunately, Li didn't adopt the appearance of a female human. She managed to calm herself down. She clearly knew how deep Hua Yuao's feelings were for her. Even Wang Hua, who looked exactly like her, couldn't win him over. Hua Yuao nodded at Li and smiled. Your Highness, it's fate that decreed you were able to survive. The princess of the seaside and said, from now on, I'll be in your care. As she looked at Li before looking at Li Jing, who had just inherited Li Yao's lineage and whose tail had just turned golden, the princess of the sea let out a long sigh. This was the best result they could get, the fortunate part out of the misfortune. Hua Yuao also didn't know how long he had been here. He quickly asked the princess of the sea, who shocked him with her reply. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.